Off, for full disclosure, of course, law enforcement intel, I'm paranoid. But you guys can help me not be too paranoid.
But you know what? With a paranoid, sometimes someone is chasing him.
Right. Absolutely true. You know, look, in this case, here's what's good about this, is that Google is basically explaining to people in a way that hopefully they will both read and understand. Because everybody accepts things on the internet. You know, I accept the terms of service. And they think that that's not some kind of a contract. And it actually is. You are giving information freely away. You are leaving a digital footprint on the internet. That is retrievable by definition. In fact, Congress, and people weren't really paying attention to Congress when they did this, passed a law that requires internet service providers to keep very detailed records on everything you do, every search, everywhere you go, for I can't remember if it's 3 or 6 months, but there's a period of time that they have to keep this by law. So you have a couple things going on. You have people starting to recognize that everything you do can be traced back to you on the internet, and you have Google, which is providing you a service in order to get vast reams of data on you, which they are going to monetize, and they monetize it by scanning your emails and using banner ads and that sort of thing.
Yeah, let me look at this list here. Let me tell you this list. And you're saying that people know this? Well, I didn't. I was.
No, they should know this.
They should know this. That Google will collect calendar appointments, location data, your search preferences, contacts information, Gmail chatter, which means keywords in your Gmails that you send out, and device information, so your Android phone, that Google will be collecting all of this, and they say integrating this to give you simpler, more intuitive Google experience. Now, S.E., is this something that we should be fearful of, that this, mega mind out there is going to know almost everything about you?
Yeah, this makes me want to go and live off the grid. Every
show for that around
fall, I know. Every fall I go to Alaska for the salmon run, and in that week I always fantasize, I want to live off the grid. My phones don't work up there. It's great. This kind of stuff really scares me. I mean, we all want the immediacy and the connectivity and the speed and, the ease of pulling up your iPad and your maps, and they know where you are and you can plug into. I think that's a real problem. I don't want my computer knowing, or I guess Google, as it were, that I have a gynecologist appointment, or a phone call with a member of Congress.
Would you like to tell our viewers?
You can take this from the trivial to the consequential, especially for people in our line of work. I think this is really scary, and I think Buck hits on the right point here, that a lot of people don't realize just how invasive these technologies have become, because we're so enamored of the ease and speed and immediacy with which we can now get all of our information.
But as someone that this bothers, don't you at least have to admit the point that Buck made, that this is a private company, Google, that you're making a tacit agreement. It's not even a tacit, an explicit agreement with, when you click on their privacy policies, that you are submitting yourself to all this. Don't you kind of have to...
the onus is on the consumer.
Right.
Absolutely.
But you can't opt out, though, either. They don't have an opt-out provision.
You could not use their service.
No, you have to not use it.
But you have to not use it. But here, even I have an Android phone. Everything I do on this phone goes through Gmail. I have to put that in, and then they can access everything. So I guess then the decision is, well, do I not have this phone?
It is getting harder to avoid the Google technologies, the Mac technologies. They are pervasive. They are everywhere.
Right, which is what I wanted to get to,
hard.
which is when you consider the dominance of Google across these platforms, using YouTube, using Google Search,
Gmail,
and all of this, that if you opt out, are you sort of like opting out of civilized society?
You may as well be.
You don't have to come over here and have this wonderful banquet with your glazed ham and your wonderful drink. You can go over there and drink 3-day-old milk
and spam.
Right, exactly.
Yes. The way the private market works, if this offends you, then you won't use Google services, and there'll be another service that pops up that provides you greater privacy. If this is truthfully something that bothers people, they'll leave Google, and whoever the next Google may be, some kid in his garage somewhere will create a Google-like platform with massive privacy protections, and we'll flock to that. But the truth is, it's probably not going to happen because we don't care.
Will hits on it well, because it's not free. This is the misconception people have. You are actually trading your personal data in order for a service. That is the transaction.
But Will is right. Amy, you and our producer Nick were talking earlier about just this kind of company coming up, a company emerging out of this abyss of privacy invasion. that promises to keep your information private. And if the free market, you know, is allowed to work its magic, that kind of company will do really well and provide for this gap in the market.
The problem becomes one of scale. You know, when you would in the old days, when you had to get a warrant to go search somebody's house,
and walk 2 miles to work,
you knew you were searching their house
without shoes.
You know, now if if someone's going to search your car, let's say at a stop, you know, one of these traffic stops. They're searching your car. Well, what if somebody wants to search your phone? They'll see every communication you've had for the past 6 months, maybe the past 3 years. I mean, some people don't delete their email, and so you're exposing a vast quantity. Maybe they just want to find one thing. You're exposing a vast quantity of your life.
Because everything lives in one place.
Exactly.
Now.
And I would say to your point also, I think people are bothered, but they're lazy. You don't want to go find another place to put. I have videos on YouTube. I don't want to go find another location where I have to do that now. So we become complacent and we say, well, this is the way of the world, and then that gets replicated, and then we have a million services that access our privacy without.
I think for people that this bothers, they need to follow that logical consistency out. Usually that argument is, look, there's this massive privacy agreement that's hard to understand, and I'm not going to take the time to read it, so I'm going to click it, but oh my God, that was confusing, and now I'm pissed that I gave away this stuff. They need to follow that consistency out, because that's the same argument that people make that says, when I go to an amusement park and this contract is on the back of a ticket and it's fine print and I can't read it, how did I give away my liability rights?
I feel that way about plane tickets.
Credit cards or home loans. When liberals,
I did not sign up for this.
When liberals talk about creating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and things like that because credit card agreements or home loan agreements are too complicated that consumers can't understand them, that's essentially the same argument you're making as a privacy you know, it's from somebody who this bothers on a privacy level.
Well, Google has simplified it, right? So they've gone the opposite direction from the credit card companies, and you know the comparison still stands. But you know, I just think that if people just live by this maxim that the internet is the greatest surveillance tool ever devised, ever created, no government could have ever thought of anything that would get so much information and have it so easy to access. Then
and then we give it up freely.
You won't make any mistakes.
Duress.
You won't see any of my old friends.
The words Anthony Weiner. Just remember Anthony Weiner. We can all learn so much.
Or I would say not take those photos in the first place. But do we then all have to basically live like CIA-trained spies in order to protect our privacy?
You don't do that anyway, Amy. I do that anyway.
Oh, you do?
I do that as of now. I have intense
people need to keep things in perspective. But it's worth bringing up because right now, I mean, the laws are literally, you know, the founding fathers could not foresee the internet. I mean, that is, you know, it's not clear exactly where the privacy line lies here. Right. So people need to have this discussion out in public, and they need to be aware of the pitfalls to privacy, to, you know.
I have a quick question, because the truth is, I don't care. I don't care what my information is out there. I don't assume the FBI has much interest in me, nor the CIA. I'm not doing anything wrong. I don't care. But here's where I begin to care, and I'm curious about your response to this. Is there a place, let's say I decide to run for public office one day, and my history is open to public scrutiny. Is there a way that every single piece of pornography I've ever looked at, every single pill I've ever ordered, every single thing I've ever done on the internet.
On Real News.
me and 100% of other men watching. Is there a way that stuff can eventually get into the hands of people I do care about?